Man, these last couple of weeks have been very, very crazy. And I feel like it's only right we address the elephant in the room, man. Let's go ahead and jump right into the trade deadline, everything that happened with that. We'll go ahead and get the ball rolling. The Dallas Mavericks traded for Kyrie Irving and Markieff Morris, while the Nets got Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, a 2027 second round pick, a 2029 first round pick, which is unprotected, and another 2029 second round pick. So what do we think about this trade? Who do you think won and why?
I think this one just caught everybody off guard. Not just the trade itself, but the trade requests that Kyrie put in. I mean, the Nets were grooving. They were hitting a rhythm. Even without KD, they were still able to put together some wins. Kyrie was playing out of his mind in that stretch without Kevin Durant, averaging almost like 35 plus. And then all of a sudden, we get a report that he's asking for a trade and he wants out. And whether that's because of the contract extension that he was denied, or his beef with the with Joe Tsai and Sean Marks, and the friction between them, we don't know the full story, but it seems likely along those lines that there's some issues and some friction between them two. And Joe Tsai, yeah, like he was like, I'm not gonna send this guy to the Lakers. I don't care. Like, I'm gonna send him somewhere else. It doesn't matter. I'm not gonna let him go and play for the Lakers. And to send him to the Dallas Mavericks, and we're able to see him and Luka Doncic play together. I mean, it's just ridiculous. You get two guys who are just absolute monsters in isolation, just overall in terms of their scoring. It's ridiculous. It was a haul. I mean, for them to give up Dorian Finney-Smith, who to me is probably their best wing defender, and they already don't have wing defenders like that. I mean, and then you give up Spencer Dinwiddie. I mean, I'm interested on how the Mavs can retool this roster. I feel like the key for this team really is, are they going to be able to try and retain Kyrie Irving in the free agency? That's what it really comes down to. Because, I mean, if he leaves, what did you trade for? What was the benefit? Because I don't think the Mavs are looking to particularly win the chip this year. I don't think that's the idea behind this trade in of itself. I think the idea is we're going to even retool the roster more in the summertime. Maybe make moves with guys like Christian Wood, because he could have potentially been moved at the trade deadline. I think that's the idea behind this trade. I really think the Nets won this trade. I really think in Joe Tsai's mind, he won this trade by sending Kyrie to a place that he didn't want to originally be in. I think he thinks he's a winner in this. Kyrie Irving gets to play with Luka Doncic, who's a top 5 player in this league, one of the better players in recent history. But I mean, I don't know. I feel like this isn't the trade that's going to take the Mavs to the chip, but it is a trade where if they're able to really secure Kyrie down in the summer, then the Mavs next year, I think they will be contenders. But as the roster is constructed now, I mean, I like Josh Green. I like Jaden Hardy. I think those are very good pieces that they have. Of course, they have Luka there, but they are missing that wing presence on that team. Their defense, I think their defensive rating has just been outrageously bad in these last like 5-10 games. So I mean, we just have to wait and see what this roster, what they're going to do in the summer free agency.
Right. We're saying we're putting on the table if Kyrie wants to stay in Dallas, if this and that. We know
I
he's got.
mean, yeah,
I don't. For me,
The
I just don't.
gamble, man.
It's a big gamble. Right? We look at the history of Kyrie Irving and everything, and the way he's been leaving teams, and the way he wants out of teams, and the way he has, like, the way he has like shown the way he's gonna leave teams is crazy to me. Forcing his way out of a couple teams, it's just for me. I don't see him staying on that team. I feel like he has something big on the horizon. I mean, him and Luka, fantastic backcourt, but like I'd said, you're missing a lot of wing defenders now. You're missing your draft picks. They traded a lot of value for Kyrie to bet on him for what, 6 months, and then to see him walk without a contract. And the whole issue with him leaving Brooklyn, and him and KD, they were in a groove before KD got hurt. They were hooping. They were winning a whole lot of games, and I think they were what, like 19-3 in the span. And when Kyrie came back after that little 5 game suspension, and then it came to contract extensions and everything, and I guess they said, hey, we're gonna put incentives in your contract if you win a championship, if you do this and you do that. And I guess it didn't sit well with him, so he wanted to trade out. So I get where he's coming from, but at the same time, Mark Cuban accepting this and trading guys like DFS and Dimwell and a couple of draft picks for him, knowing that his contract's coming up to an end at the year, it's a big gamble for me. And I think Brooklyn got what they wanted. They got a couple good players. They got a couple of draft picks for the future. And we're gonna speak about the KD trade right after this probably. And But I feel like, Mark Cuban made a big risk here taking Kyrie on all the baggage that he comes with. I feel like he's gonna walk in the summer. There's teams like Phoenix, they're gonna have available cap space when they get CP3 off the books. Maybe the Lakers, maybe another team pops up, but I just don't see him staying with the Dallas Mavericks.
When Kyrie Irving made this trade request, I can't lie. I respected him a lot for it. Of course, the timing was a bit confusing. The Nets were rolling, they're starting to figure things out. 2 episodes ago, when we were talking about basketball, we were talking about the Nets, being serious championship contenders with under Jack Vaughn, and moving on from the whole Steve Nash drama, moving on from Kyrie's drama. The Nets were playing some great basketball. But Kyrie requesting a trade, like I said, it was confusing, but I respect it simply because of what the Nets put him through in the beginning of the season. Yeah, everything was on him, the comments and promoting that movie and stuff like that. But what the Nets did was basically pick a side, and they weren't on the side of Kyrie Irving. They didn't defend their franchise guy. And Kyrie's like, okay, I'm gonna forgive you guys for that, but I'm not gonna forget. And Kyrie Irving went on an absolute tear. He earned himself a starting spot in the All-Star game, and his Kyrie Irving's value has never been at its highest up until that point, up until he requested a trade. And so, even when things were going well, Kyrie said, "Yo, I didn't forget what these guys did to me. I'm never gonna forget." And so he moved on. And Mark Cuban, he just seized on the opportunity. He saw how wide open the West was, when he first made that trade, and he was like, "Okay, with all these teams, I feel like if we get Luka Doncic a co-star, I think we might have a chance to make a serious run right now." Do I believe they have a serious chance to make a run at a championship right now with the way the roster is constructed? I don't think so. But Mark Cuban was probably thinking that when he made a move for Kyrie Irving, and so he pulled the trigger. And to be honest, I don't think they won the trade simply because of Kyrie Irving and his contract being up at the end of the season. It's going to be really, really hard to lock down a guy like Kyrie Irving, knowing that his prime destination was the Los Angeles Lakers, and it still is the Los Angeles Lakers as we speak. I know there's rumors going around right now that he wants to play with Kevin Durant again, but they just didn't want to play with each other in Brooklyn. But when Kyrie Irving first started this whole drama about trying to leave in the offseason, the Lakers were the number one team on his list, and I believe that come off season time, I don't think Kyrie Irving is going to be sticking around for much longer. So I respect Mark Cuban for this move. When we talked about top duos in the Western Conference in the offseason, we were all saying like, damn, we wish Luka Doncic could have a co-star. And, now he finally has that co-star. And these guys are going to do amazing things together these next 2-3 months and the rest of the regular season and the rest of the playoffs when they make it. But I just don't see this fit being a long-term fit because with the way the roster is constructed right now, they lost all their wing depth, and losing Spencer Dinwiddie hurt, but you replaced them with Kyrie, and they don't necessarily play defense like that. And now you have a backcourt that don't play defense at all. So how are you going to hide Kyrie Irving? How are you going to hide Luka Doncic? So to get to the Brooklyn Nets, I think they won this trade. Spencer Dinwiddie is a quality point guard in this league. DFS he's going to do amazing things for them at that 4 position. He's able to spread the floor, a true 3-and-D guy. And his lane's going to bother a lot of people on the defensive end. And then, so personally, I would say Brooklyn won this trade, but if the Dallas Mavericks are able to lock down Kyrie Irving full time, then I'm gonna have to switch that up and say that the Dallas Mavericks won, because if you're
What's the ceiling? What's the ceiling for the Mavericks? Like, what do you think they're aiming for
right now?
Yeah.
I mean, when they made the trade, and right now it's.
I feel like even still after, like after all the Western teams made their moves, Suns got KD, of course, and Clippers retooled their bench, and Nuggets picked up a couple pieces, and the Lakers, they fixed up their roster. I still think like the Mavs, in their mind, they're thinking we gotta at least go higher than a second round. I feel like they're in their minds, they're thinking we have Kyrie Irving, Luka Doncic. I understand we don't have Kevin Durant in terms of wing players, but we have a damn good backcourt. We have probably the best backcourt in the Western Conference, so we expect us to go at least as far as the Western Conference. I think that's what they're thinking in their mind. It's still early on, of course, from this move, but they are 0-2, I think, together so far, and it's just been the defensive side of the ball where I'm a bit worried about. Can that team hold up? But in their minds, I think they're thinking Western Conference. That's what they're envisioning.
Yeah, I agree. They made the Western Conference Finals last year with a completely different roster, of course. And when you make a trade for a guy like Kyrie Irving, you know, you're not thinking first round exit, you're not thinking second round exit, you're thinking a Western Conference Finals push to really give yourself an opportunity to make the NBA Finals. So I think that's probably where their ceiling is. I don't think with the way the West is stacked up right now, it's going to be really, really tough for them to get out of the second round. But I would say that their ceiling is the Western Conference Finals. But when one domino falls, they all fall, man. The next trade that the Brooklyn Nets made, they gave it a couple of days after this Kyrie Irving trade. They wanted to see if they can make another move to help Kevin Durant and try to bolster up this roster before the trade deadline. But unfortunately, they weren't able to do that. And the Brooklyn Nets did promise Kevin Durant after he requested out in the summertime that if the ship was going to go down, Kevin Durant wasn't going to be on the ship. And so what they did was they moved him to the Phoenix Suns along with TJ Warren, and the Nets got back Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, and 4 unprotected first round picks in 2023, 2025, 2027, and 2029, and plus a pick swap in 2028.
I feel like that's still not enough for someone like Kevin Durant. Like,
I think it is, man. At this point,
nah, I don't think it's enough at all.
but
Like,
after you gotta look at it after the Kyrie trade. It's like, yo, KD's gonna want out regardless of the situation. What's the best? What's the best you can get for KD right now? And I feel like they got a whole lot of picks and Bridges and Cam Johnson, 2 young players that are fantastic. Obviously,
I feel like other teams probably could have. I feel like something like the Raptors probably could have offered something better if KD was on the table for them.
but
Like,
they
like
didn't.
someone like an OG, and then you mix in another. Like, I feel like they could have gotten a even better return possibly. Like Kevin Durant, you just give up 2, 3 and D guys. I understand both of them are very, very, very solid players, but this is Kevin Durant you're talking about. You're giving up a top 3 MVP candidate when he was healthy early on in the season, and now like you give up first for the Suns. Like, they're thinking they got a bargain for Kevin Durant. To be honest, in their minds, they're thinking we ran away with this trade. Uh, and I like it was same thing with me. Like, I coped with the trade. I told myself like, yo, like they have no wing depth, blah blah blah. Like, yeah, I can't lie. It's practically excuses that everybody's telling that
Nah,
themselves. I mean,
they went all in. They went all in.
this team is ridiculous. This Sun team is crazy. I mean, you have 3 mid range assassins in Chris Paul. You got Devin Booker, and you have Kevin Durant. And of course, DeAndre Ayton, you know, he could be up and down sometimes, but he's still a solid big man. And this team, like, I feel like the Suns, they just pushed themselves. Like, they were somehow hanging on when they had Devin Booker. We thought they were going to fall off a cliff, even with Devin Booker. They were still pushing a top 3 seed with Devin Booker. He got hurt, you know, they fell down. Since January, they kind of bounced back, and now you get Kevin Durant possibly after the All-Star break, and like, it's scary now. It's very, very scary for any team. You see this Nuggets that they were on top, the Grizzlies now, a bunch of teams, and you know, Josh comments about I'm finding the West. You know, now it's now it's looking scary though. Now it's looking a bit scary because a whole bunch of teams retooled themselves. The Lakers don't count, by the way, just pointing that out. But a whole bunch of teams retooled themselves, and now it's like, yo,
That's a crazy shot at the Lakers, man. I can't lie.
Crazy shot. I'm gonna plug in Pat Riley, man. That guy been sleeping for like 3 years, so we ain't gonna talk about him. But man, the Suns, the way, you know, like you said, it's the superstar talent on that team is crazy. You know, you got KD now. You know, top 3. One of the, to me, is a top 2 with LeBron as one of the best players in the league. And you just put him on a good roster with CP3, D Book, and a guy like Aiden. It doesn't matter who you plug in as that 5th person or who comes off the bench as a backup, or they got 4 guys that can hoop. So it's going to be a lot for them. And for us, not for us, but for Brooklyn, like, it is what it is now, man. These guys wanted to leave last summer. Now they got what they wanted. It's tough, you know. Maybe Abby is right about the Raptors, you know, offering something better with like OG, Gary Trent, maybe 3 or 4 picks. Maybe that might be better. Maybe who knows if that's not better. But at the same time, you know, they're done. They're done with this KD Kyrie saga. They're over it. They got a boatload of draft picks. They lost a whole lot of draft picks in the process of getting all these players with Harden, Kyrie, getting KD. No, they signed KD, but the boatload of these last 3 years, they wasted a lot of draft picks to get these guys. Now I feel like, you know, after they trade Simmons, they got a couple picks back. They can, you know, retool their roster and rebuild from what they got going on right now with guys like Cam Johnson, guys like Mikal Bridges, and you know Cam Thomas. So we'll see what happens. But to me, the Suns, they definitely won this one. They knew, they knew Mikal.
Ironically, though, any superstar, it's
Yeah,
so ironic. Any superstar that walks into his Nets team has a very, very good roster around them. That's the funny part about
they always have a great roster around them. And
it's crazy how everything just came back full circle. Like now, this team literally just needs a superstar, and they just came up literally 2-3 seasons of having 3 superstars.
It's crazy
So,
if they kept KD with this roster that they have right now, built with Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, and everybody. I feel like they might make a run, but at the same
no,
time,
they had to. Of course, they had to give up those guys to get KD. But
but
even still, with guys like if the roster with Spencer Dinwiddie and DFS, like I feel like Ben Simmons is the one that kills everything, man. Like,
hey,
No,
I
he's
don't
the
know,
problem,
I don't know
man.
if y'all
He is
peeped
the
it, man.
problem.
It went from like 20, 25 minutes at the beginning of January. Now you're just playing like 12, 10
like
minutes.
Jack Vaughn, like you guys saw. I don't know if you guys
I
saw the
seen
interview.
it. He
Jack
was
Vaughn was heated. He like you can understand from his words. He's like, you play Simmons next to a big. Well, now you got to figure out the spacing issue. You play Ben Simmons next to a playmaker. Well, what does Ben Simmons do without the ball? Like, you see what I mean? Like, Jack Vaughn is heated. Like every time he talks
And
about Ben Simmons, you could
this
tell he
is
gets pissed off.
hey, this is his last year on this team. It's done. He has 3 months left, bro. I don't see him doing anything. I promise. He's gonna get traded for whatever they can get for him, even if
Yeah, a bag of chips and some Skittles, bro.
whatever. Jack Vaughn said if I can get a Gator and a bag of chips, that's a nice meal for him. So if they can get that, they can get that, man. But the Suns, like I said before, they middle of the pack right now. I feel like they're top 2. They shot up to the top with the Nuggets, and it's gonna be very tough to beat those guys, especially once they gel and KD gets back into rhythm and CP3. We always have our questions in the playoffs, but is KD the right guy to maybe push him forward and help him win this championship for the first time? We'll see.
I mean, I like this trade for both teams. I feel like, I mean, yeah, the Nets probably could have gone a little more for Kevin Durant if everybody was everybody had the opportunity to get him. But I feel like the Brooklyn Nets said, okay, last summer you said you wanted to go to either the Phoenix Suns or the Miami Heat, and those were the only 2 teams on his list. So they didn't really. I feel like they didn't really make Kevin Durant available to everybody. So they probably could have gotten a better offer, but who knows? But for this offer that they got, Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson and all these picks, pretty much they got back the draft capital that they lost when they traded, Jared Allen, Caris LeVert, and they made that move for James Harden. They got those picks back, spread over some time, and now they got a team that just needs a superstar, like you guys said, and pretty much a lot of guys that can put the ball on the floor, shoot the ball from 3, play some defense. So they got a quality squad now. So I like this trade for both sides, but of course everyone's gonna lean heavy towards the Phoenix Suns building a super team. I feel like even with them taking a little bit of a dip this year when Devin Booker went out, they just said, yo, we saw that Kyrie Irving was on the market and he got moved. Let's just go try to get Kevin Durant. And now that they have Kevin Durant, are these guys the team to beat? I think so, because they built a super team. When you have CP, D Book, Kevin Durant, DeAndre Ayton, it's just going to be a lot of problems for a lot of teams in the Western Conference because, you got a lot of scorers on that team. You got a quality big men, and then you got CP3 running the show. You don't necessarily need him to, put up 16 to 18 points. You just need him to dish the ball out. So the assist numbers have to be high. So I like this trade for both franchises. I feel like the Brooklyn Nets, taking a stand with this whole Kyrie Irving KD era. It was nice. Unfortunately, they weren't able to cap it off with the NBA championship, but it's good to get that great cloud off your franchise. It was over your head for so long, and now you have the opportunity to start fresh, and maybe you might be able to attract a superstar with this current roster that they got, because now they have some quality guys. Ben Simmons does not fit this team, and of course we all know that he's going to be gone. But nobody's going to give up.
They said he has 0 trade value. That's crazy.
Pretty much, he's going to get a bag. The Nets are going to get back a bag of chips and some Skittles for this guy, and they're going to be fine with it simply because they know what they got in the locker room. And each and every game, you see his minutes going down from 20 to 12, and he just doesn't fit with this roster. But it was the duo of Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. It was nice. It just wasn't able to work out in their favor due to them not being able to stay on the floor for a lot of time. But it was nice. But overall, the Phoenix Suns, just like the Dallas Mavericks, they saw an opportunity and they said, yo, we're going to capitalize on this opportunity with the West being so wide open. And now they sit at the top of the Western Conference with the Denver Nuggets, who are the current 1 seed right now, right below them. I think the Phoenix Suns are the team to be, and it's going to be interesting to see how Devin Booker and Kevin Durant play alongside each other.
Are we going to finally admit, though, Kyrie was a cancer this whole time? Like, are we going to finally admit that he's literally the problem in everything
100%.
that's happened in the last 2 years with the Brooklyn Nets? That Kyrie Irving's the center of all of this.
100%. 100%.
I want to lean this more on management.
They threw the
management definitely has a part in this, no question.
That's the crazy part.
Management definitely has a part in this, but Kyrie Irving has literally been the center of everything. Kevin Durant literally said it today, like he was caught off guard by what Kyrie did. Literally caught him off guard. He was like, "What the hell? We're winning games," and this guy Kevin Durant. You could tell by what he said is he wanted to play in Brooklyn. There's no question in my mind that he wanted to stay in Brooklyn. But as soon as he noticed the same thing, literally the same thing that Harden noticed about Kyrie Irving and the management issues, he bailed. He dipped out. He wanted out of there. Like that, he's not going down with the ship. And literally, Kyrie Irving's at the center of it all. Every single piece of controversy where Kyrie Irving has been, it's literally him. He's at the center of it. So, I mean, I'm not surprised. This literally just proves everything. Literally, Harden was proven right. He was literally proven right. He didn't have to explicitly say Kyrie Irving's name, but we all know Kyrie Irving was the reason why James Harden left that team.
Under the bus, though. He's not going to throw Kyrie.
Yeah, but we all know it's Kyrie Irving is the reason why James Harden left this team.
I'm gonna give it a good 50-50 split. I'll give Kyrie Irving some blame, and then I'll give Sean Marks and Joe Tsai some blame as well, because of course, you know, Kyrie Irving, his antics, it's causing some locker room problems. Of course, you know, him not being on the floor last year due to the vaccine shot, and regardless though, Harden should have stuck around last year because whatever was going on with them, everything was going perfect, you know, because Kevin Durant was injured and Kyrie Irving just got, you know, cleared to play home games and stuff like that, and he was going to be able to play road games as we saw towards the end of the season. I just feel like Harden should have stuck around for one more run with this team because these guys only played 16 games with each other. Like, that's just crazy to think. The Brooklyn Nets went all in on this big three just for 16 games. So he lost pretty much everything for these three guys, and now they have nothing to show for it. They're back into a competitive rebuild process, I would say. They're still going to be a quality playing team or a playoff team, but they're not going to be a championship contending team. And when they made a move for James Harden, that was the whole idea. And if the Nets don't lose Kyrie Irving and James Harden in the same series, none of this happens. That's the crazy thing. Like, if those guys don't get injured, we're having a completely different conversation, and probably all those three guys are still in Brooklyn.
That's kind of crazy that 2 injuries literally changed the course of the entire team. Literally 2 injuries. Like, if Giannis's foot is not under Kyrie's, like, if James Harden's hamstring does not get hurt, like, we're talking about these guys as potential champions and maybe back-to-back champions the next following year. Like, it literally took 2 injuries. Not even, like, I feel like even if one of them had just was healthy, even if one of them has stayed healthy, we're having a whole different conversation. So, I mean, like, in hindsight, I still make both of those trades I still make that trade for James Harden 10 times out of 10. I still make a move for those superstars any day of the week. You do that for that type of talent, but like, it just didn't happen with them. Just didn't fall in place.
But it's going to be interesting to see how things pan out in Brooklyn, and if any superstar that's willing to go there. I mean, they got a quality team right now, led by a very, very quality head coach. So I think both these teams won the trade. I like this trade better than I like the Dallas Mavericks trade, simply because of Kyrie Irving's situation. But I guess we're just going to have to wait and see how everything falls. But now we'll go ahead and move on to the Los Angeles Lakers and their big move. Couple of big moves, actually, but we'll go ahead and start with the big one. The Lakers traded Russell Westbrook to the Utah Jazz along with Damian Jones, Juan Toscano Anderson, and their 2027 first-round pick. This is a 3-team trade with the Timberwolves, and the Timberwolves ended up getting Mike Conley Jr., Nickeil Alexander-Walker, a 2024 second-round pick, a 2025 second-round pick, and a 2026 second-round pick. And the Lakers ended up getting D'Angelo Russell, Jared Vanderbilt, and Malik Beasley.
Is this move too late for the Lakers is a better question in my mind, because they're battling for that play-in spot. Like, there's like that whole literally 4 through like 13 especially like 6 through 13 is where it's really tight. It's super, super tight. Guys are like separated by 1 or 2 games. Like that's how close it is. I mean, you got OKC right there. You got Portland right there. You got the Warriors right there. You got Timberwolves right there. You got the Jazz right there. You got the Lakers there. I mean, you got a whole plethora of teams right there. In my mind, it's like, was that move too late for the Lakers? I did like how they looked against the Pelicans. I mean, you have D'Angelo Russell, who, I'm not the biggest D'Angelo Russell fan, but he offers a lot of spacing and extra playmaking next to a guy like LeBron. He can get AD the ball in passing situation. He can throw it up to him in lobs. He works phenomenally well in pick and roll situations. He's a nice shooter. You get a guy in Jared Vanderbilt who's an excellent switch defender. He's a great rebounder. He offers a lot of energy. That's the thing I like about Jared Vanderbilt, especially when I was watching the Pelicans game. I mean, he did a great job on Brandon Ingram. He was harassing him. He was all over him. And then, of course, Mo Bamba, he offers some spacing and some extra rim protection. Like, I think this was the right move for the Lakers in terms of fixing the issues that surrounding them. But, my question was it too late for them? Do we feel like, can the Lakers still make a push to get into that playoff spot? I don't know. Because there's a lot of teams that they owe tiebreakers against, that they've lost against. I mean, that OKC game I felt like they lost was very critical. It might end up coming back to bite them, but we're gonna have to wait and see. But I like this move for the Lakers because
OKC 2 more times, so
yeah, I mean,
March for sure. For us, I don't think it's too late, especially with like how you said the 6th seed and the 13th seed being so close, especially those last 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Those spots is 2-3 games right there, and especially going into the 8th, it's like we're 3 games behind. I don't think it's too late. We seen a little bit of the lineup yesterday, first time, D'Lo, Beasley, Vanderbilt, LeBron, and AD playing together, and it showed us, the first quarter, it was very interesting. They started to hoop and we won the game. So it was pretty fantastic looking at it. And, D'Lo offering that space to space out the floor. He's a much better shooter than Westbrook. And, having Beasley as well, he's a much better shooter than what we had at shooting guard with Dennis Schroeder, Patrick Beverly, and Westbrook all playing all together at the same time. So for us, I feel like, we fixed our positions that we needed. We upgraded on stuff to complement our 2 superstars in AD and LeBron, especially with Vanderbilt and Rui. Those 2 guys, phenomenal players. They can play defense and they can stretch the floor on offense for us. So I feel like, we're in the thick of it. I do believe we're gonna make the plans, and I do believe we're gonna get a playoff spot. We just need to stay healthy with Bron and AD. So if we can get right, AD gets right, we can touch the stars. I like the trades that we made, and I can't wait to see a lineup of Mo Bamba and AD defensively together. They didn't play together yesterday against the Pelicans, but when they do, I want to see how defensively we do. So can't wait for that. But we got Pat Bev off our lineup. We got guys like JTA, Damian Jones, and Westbrook's he's a legend. I'm not gonna disrespect him or anything like that. He just didn't fit the Lakers offensive system. So, it was good to get him out. We got a good share back, and it's not too bad right now. So hopefully, we can put some wins together. Get a little win streak going and get back a couple of those tiebreakers that we owe. We got Minnesota. I think we got 2 games left with them. Two games with Utah, and then 2 with Utah.
These next 5-6 games is basically your season.
Oh, tough schedule.
Because you play Minnesota.
Memphis. No, we play Warriors, Memphis, Minnesota, and I forgot the other.
I believe OKC's in that stretch as well.
OKC's in that stretch, and I gotta recheck it. But these next 6-7 games, there's a lot of teams that we play in the West. I mean, out of our next 24 games that we have left, we only have 4 games in the East. So a lot of the games are in the West. So, we got to get some.
You got the Warriors, you got the Mavs, you got the Grizzlies, you got OKC, and you got the Timberwolves, and you got the Warriors again, and then you got the Grizzlies after that.
All guys are like right there ahead of us, barely 2-3 games ahead of us. So this where the season starts after the All-Star break. So I can't wait.
I think this was an amazing trade for the Los Angeles Lakers. I can't lie. Russell Westbrook was the obvious problem in Los Angeles. The fit just didn't make any sense since day one. I can see why LeBron James and AD agreed to this and why they recruited Russell Westbrook during that offseason, simply because the way the league was going, it was going to a duos league. And if you had an opportunity to go grab another superstar, you go ahead and do that, try to give yourself the best advantage in comparison to the competition. But as we all saw, it just wasn't a good fit for the Lakers. And I just feel like this trade is a great trade for them, getting back D'Angelo Russell, who I'm not saying he's anything crazy, but he's an upgrade in comparison to Russell Westbrook. And you can play him alongside LeBron James. He can spread the floor and facilitate and provide help on that end. Defensively, not so much, but you get Jared Vanderbilt, a quality player, Malik Beasley, a shooter, You know, he's in the starting lineup now, but I think they brought him off the bench his first game in. But it's a great trade. For the Utah Jazz, I can see why they did this. They're gonna buy out Russell Westbrook real soon, and we'll get to him in his situation at the end. You know, just getting back some picks, and then for the Minnesota Timberwolves, I honestly don't know why you're still picking up the phone when Danny Ainge calls. With the way they robbed you for Rudy Gobert, getting all those first round picks, but I guess
I think this one wasn't that bad to get at least Mike Conley. I think Mike Conley in terms of like, because like there's reports about D'Lo and Gobert beefing and like D'Lo like taking away shots from guys like Anthony Edwards. I think Mike Conley does a good job in terms of like controlling the offense and getting guys involved. I mean, they get a good playmaker and I mean D'Lo's contract was expiring anyways, I believe so, this summer. So I mean they got a guy in Mike Conley who's going to be a good playmaker for them. He's a solid outside shooter. He's a veteran. He has playoff experience. So I mean, I don't think, but they definitely. I mean, I wouldn't pick up the call after what Danny Ainge did to me in the summer at all. But they had to try to leave with some.
Yeah, I mean, this trade isn't as bad as in comparison to the Rudy Gobert trade. They were able to get Mike Conley, who can spread the ball around the floor, and they got a couple 3 second round picks, so it could be good for them in the end. And then of course the Utah Jazz, they got that Lakers 2027 first round pick unprotected, so I think that's going to be a very, very solid pick for them in their future. They're looking to use that pick and try to rebuild. And of course, they were a team that was very, very hot in the beginning of the year, and now they've fallen off a bit, but they're still in the race for the play-in tournament. But to get back to the Los Angeles Lakers, to answer your question, Abdi, I do believe this move is a little bit too late. I feel like they should have traded Russell Westbrook in the beginning of the season, back in like November, December. But now we're here in February. The trade deadline has passed us, and now there's about 23 to 25 games left on the schedule. And they're sitting like 13th right now, with everybody being so close. The Lakers, when we think about teams being close, you think about teams that are built to win. Like you look at the Minnesota Timberwolves, they were a playoff team last year. The Warriors are in that race. You expect those teams to fight their way into the playoffs, but the Los Angeles Lakers, you just don't see that. And I feel like time is just not on their side. If the Lakers had about maybe 40 games, half of the season left to make the playoffs and make the play-in tournament, I'd be happy with this trade. But there's just not enough time for these guys to mesh and gel and really pull off a nice little win streak and to get back into the win column and then push themselves into the play-in tournament. It's just not going to be a good look for the Lakers. And with LeBron James dealing with some sort of foot injury that's going under the radar right now, and him, even with the trade, with all these trades happening for the Lakers, he sat out a good chunk of games after he broke the record. So they dropped a lot of games there. They were able to win at Golden State when D'Angelo Russell and Jared Vanderbilt made their debuts. And it was good to see that. But, health is key for this Lakers roster at this point, and they have to be perfect. And now the question is, can the Lakers be perfect for, let's just say 18 out of the 25 games remaining? I just can't see it, man. There's a lot of competition in the Western Conference in terms of, 6 through 10. There's just a lot of teams that are fighting for that spot, and I just can't see it a spot for the Lakers. But this is the roster that they should have constructed in the beginning of the season. Even if it's not Jared Vanderbilt and Malik Beasley or D'Angelo Russell, you should have traded Russell Westbrook and that pick or both the picks to get something back and help Anthony Davis and LeBron just at the beginning of the season, because then you would have given yourself a chance. But now I just can't see it. But that wasn't the only move the Lakers made. They were able to move on from Patrick Beverley. They sent him to Orlando for Mo Bamba. I like that move. And I believe they made one more move. They traded Thomas Bryant to the Nuggets. They got back Devon Reed and 3 second-round picks. That was just pretty much Thomas Bryant being unhappy with his fit on the team. And I believe the Lakers make another move after that, or was that the final move?
That was about it.
That was about it. But overall, it was a great trade for the Lakers, but I just feel like the timing, it just doesn't make any sense. Obviously you want to get Russell Westbrook off your team. You want to get the gray cloud over, removed from your franchise, but just the timing is there's just not a lot of games left for the Lakers to make this play and push. But it's going to be interesting to see what LeBron James can cook up now that he's finally back into the lineup after taking 3-4 games off. And if Anthony Davis can somehow go back to his form when we were talking about him being compared to Joel Embiid, then the Lakers just might have a puncher's chance. But I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see on that. But we'll go ahead and move on to the next move. The Milwaukee Bucks traded for Jay Crowder, and they gave up 2 second-round picks. And this was a 3-team trade with the Pacers as well. The Pacers ended up getting George Hill, Serge Ibaka, Jordan Nwora, and 3 second-round picks.
I mean, I kind of like this trade for the Bucks. Like, I thought the Bucks might have been cooked early on in the season, but with the way they've been playing recently, man, and they got Middleton back, they've been looking better and better. And this is just a trade that adds more forward depth. I mean, you got Jay Crowder, you got Joe Ingles coming off the bench, you have Pat Connaughton, you have a lot of forward depth, and just adding more shooting and toughness to a team that is looking to win another championship. So I think this was definitely a move. I mean, it was crazy to me that a guy like Jay Crowder sitting out. Like, this is the modern day NBA. You have 2023. You have role players sitting out, like they're superstars, which is just ridiculous. But I mean, it is a trade that the Bucks literally, it adds for more forward depth and adds defense and spacing and shooting. So it's a good move.
I think they made this trade just to go after Boston. I mean, they picked up another wing defender right here, another guy that's a vet, knows how to space the floor, can help Giannis on the defensive side of the ball, especially with Drew Holiday and Brook Lopez. So I feel like they're setting up a unit to combat against the Boston Celtics against the East. It's a good move, Jay Crowder. I mean, he's a good veteran, a good role player. I feel like they Suns just kept him on the block. They didn't want to. I feel like they didn't want to trade him, or a lot of teams weren't gauging into that, but the Bucks came in, and it's a good veteran pickup for them, especially against Boston. They have a whole lot of wings and guards that know how to space the floor, know how to attack the basket, and they need to go against that. So I like the pickup for them.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I think this move is a very, very solid move. Jay Crowder, he's ability to 3-and-D guy, got some experience in the playoffs, got some experience in the finals. He can really help him out in that. He can really help him out at the 4 position. Like, let's say if you want to go ahead and push Giannis out to the 5 and you want to space out the floor with, Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, Pat Connaughton, Grayson Allen, or Jay Crowder, and then Giannis at the 5. So there's just a lot of options, a lot of lineups and a lot of looks that you can throw at teams. And with the Boston Celtics being the only true threat to the Milwaukee Bucks, you really had to go out. You really had to go out and make a move like this. So I like this move for them.
You don't think
the next
this is a threat?
Not to the Milwaukee Bucks. I think the two top teams right now in the Eastern Conference are the Boston Celtics and then the Milwaukee Bucks, and then of course you have the Sixers that I'll give them a fighter's chance, but I don't think they really come close to those two teams at the top. Abdi will disagree with me though.
No, I think that's fair. I think there's a separation between the top 2 teams, and then I feel like there's the top 2 teams, which is just the Bucks, and the Bucks and the Celtics, and then you have the Sixers and the Cavs, and then practically everybody else from down there. It's right there. I think that's like the hierarchy between team contenders in the East.
Yeah, I agree. The last trade that we'll go more in depth in is this 14 trade that sent Saddiq Bey to the Atlanta Hawks. The Pistons ended up getting James Wiseman. The Warriors got Gary Payne Jr. Gary Payne the second back. And the Blazers ended up getting 5 first-round picks.
I mean, like, it's kind of hilarious that you let a guy walk. So you draft Wiseman second overall just to trade him for a guy that you let walk in the free agency back to your team. I mean, that's just crazy to me. I mean, like James Wiseman, I think this is a good move for him. He could be on a team where he's allowed to make mistakes. He's allowed to build up his game. I mean, on the Warriors, there's no room for mistakes like that. And it makes sense. They're a team that's looking to compete at the highest level. A young player like him needs a team where he's able to develop. And, he has shown some flashes, but there's a lot more negative stuff surrounding him than there was positive play in terms of this season for him. And so for him to go to a team where he's able to build up his skills, he's able to build confidence in himself, and he's able to make mistakes in a rebuild, I think this is a good move for them. And then, of course, Gary Payton Jr., we know how good he is as a defender. I just found it odd that he's back to a team that let him walk in the summer. I mean, that's just an awful move. And Saddiq Bey isn't. I mean, the Hawks, their issues are not going to be fixed by Saddiq Bey. I'll be honest. This team is just not that good. This team is just not that good. I don't think he's going to be a huge upgrade. It might even take more minutes and opportunities away from someone like AJ Griffin, for him to be at the small forward. I think it's just taking away more opportunities. It's just one of those moves where the Hawks are just desperate to look like they're better than they are, but I feel like this didn't really upgrade them much. So
I understand the Warriors, walking away from Wiseman. I feel like he came into a system that it didn't fit him, and it was tough for him to adjust to that type of system. And for him to get some opportunities, but not much on the Warriors team, where it's like you make a single mistake, hey, your next opportunity might be 4 or 5 weeks from now for as a rookie. And that's how it looked for a championship team the last 6 to 7 years. You can't make mistakes. You got to fit in. You got to play that type of style. You got to fit into the system and just keep on working. But I mean, I feel like it's a good. They got a guy back, Gary Payne, that they traded and let walk, but I feel like it's good for them. Good for Wiseman to start somewhere new, to play fresh, to get a chance before him and his fire goes out, before he even gets an opportunity to play. So to see him on the Pistons, I feel like Pistons they love taking in big men like Bagley. They have him. They have Durant. They have who else? Isaiah Stewart. They got a whole lot of centers in that room, and it's a bunch of young centers. So I feel like he got some competition that he can work against. Not as much as he had on the Warriors, where it was just him as a center and Kevon Looney. So he got some young guys in the room with him. So it's good to see. And Sadiq Bey going to the Hawks. Like Abdi said, it's the Hawks are trying to look better. Right? I don't know where he's going to fit into their plans. It's not going to fix what their issues are. They have a whole lot of issues going on. So for them to just make that trade, and I don't know what did they give up for him?
Who, the Atlanta Hawks? The Atlanta Hawks?
Yeah. Or is it just picks? They didn't give up no players, right?
Nah, they just gave up picks. I think Kevin Knox was in this trade as well, but he ended up going to Portland.
Yeah, just to be a part of the trade, they were part of it. And Gary Payne coming back to the Warriors, I feel like that's another great player coming back from them. Another guy that's used to the system that extremely helped them last year in the playoff run in the finals. It's a good fit, but with that being said, like for them, it's they're picking up a guy that was injured, and Portland was hiding some news about him taking I forgot what it was before games and forcing him back before injury, and now him missing another 2 to 3 months. So the Warriors gambling on that, and that comes to be said. It's like, are they going to be in the playoffs, man, or are they going to be out? Until he comes back, and Curry's still out. So we'll see what happens with the Warriors and what they do with Gary Payne. But I feel like it's pretty even, not too bad.
Yeah, I won't say too much about the Atlanta Hawks or the Blazers in this trade. I feel like the main two franchises that were in this deal, the Detroit Pistons and the Golden State Warriors. For James Wiseman, I feel for him. Being the number 2 overall pick, getting drafted to a prestigious franchise like Golden State, a team that's won multiple championships, and the only reason why you ended up going there was simply because their guys got injured, and you were able to win a championship, but you weren't able to be a part of that ride due to your injury. And now it was this entire season, starting back in October during the preseason when he was looking good in China, and when they're in that little preseason tour, and now the regular season came around, he wasn't able to find minutes. He was struggling on the floor. It just wasn't a lot of room for Wiseman to grow on this team. And that happens sometimes when the franchise has a direction that they're going in, and it's not necessarily a rebuild. It's going to be tough to get a young guy to come in and try to contribute to a championship roster. That just doesn't happen in the league. So I think this is a great move for James Wiseman and the Detroit Pistons. I'm not too sure how long he'll be there, but for the short term that he's there, I think he'll be able to just be free, be himself, and not have that added pressure on him to be great every single night and be playing at a championship level every single night. The Pistons are going to be a team that's going to be competing for the number 1 overall picks. So Wiseman should have the freedom to do whatever he wants given the minutes that he gets. So it's a good move for the Pistons and Wiseman. And for the Warriors, I'm not going to lie, I feel like this move is just probably like a little B plus, I would say, simply because when they traded 5 first-round picks and they moved on from Wiseman, I thought these guys were going to go make a move for OG Anunoby, a guy that, could have helped this team a lot more.
It's crazy. I felt like if the Warriors had gotten OG, that would have been like, we're serious too. We want to keep up with the Suns and the Mavs and all these guys making moves, because picking up someone like OG would have been crazy, man.
They're asking for 3 first.
Like I personally, I would have given up. Like, I'll be honest, I would have given up Kuminga and picks for OG. I'll be honest.
4 first-round picks. That's what the Raptors were asking.
They're asking for a group of first-round picks, 3 first-round picks, and then like Kuminga and like Moody and those guys.
We just think
I'm honestly like I would have done it. Like I think I would have done it, because like picking up someone like OG is just like think of like a small ball lineup of Steph. You get Steph, you get Clay, you get Wiggins, you get OG, and you get Draymond. Like that's just like crazy. That front.
If I'm giving up 3 first-round picks, Kuminga and Wiseman, I need Siakam. I need a star player.
Nah, man.
You gotta bring
Teams are
Siakam.
asking, but I'm telling you, the market's already broken. Teams are asking 4 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges, and teams are asking 3 first-round picks for Dorian
OG.
Finney-Smith.
No, but
The
OG,
market's broken.
OG's part of that pack too. We're not acting like it's
And yeah, the whole market is broken, so just might as well go with the market and go get OG Anunoby. I mean, you pick up someone like OG, like that's a whole, like you literally get another Wiggins on your team basically that can shoot from the outside. Like the guy, that's a crazy trade to me that I feel like the Warriors should have been all over.
Man, I mean, I was hoping they were gonna make a move for OG, but I just feel like it wasn't even the first round picks that really bothered the Warriors. I feel like it was just Jonathan Kuminga. I feel like he's one of the young guys that are on this team that have been really given the opportunity to get out there and get some playing time and get some burning. So they just want to stick it out with him and just figure out where that project is gonna go. But getting back Gary Payne is not bad. Now the Warriors have like the best guard rotation in the league, where you go from Steph, Jordan Poole, Klay Thompson, DiVincenzo, and Gary Payne. So they got some guys that can shoot and score the ball. They got some guys that can play like a lock in and play defense and also shoot the ball. So it's a good mix of guards. It's going to be a nice guard rotation, but the Warriors, they still lack a big, and that was the story of their season last year. But they're able to cover up those holes with Otto Porter Jr. and Bjelica and stuff like that. And now this year, they don't necessarily have anybody outside of Draymond Green and Kevon Looney. JaMychal Green is just the mid guy, but overall, it is what it is. They have to move on to the buyout market, which we'll probably talk about in our next episode. But to get Gary Payne, I think it's just a very, very solid move for the Warriors. But with him being sidelined for this next month, we're really not going to see him up until the playoffs. But Gary, a guy that's familiar with your team, and Steve Kerr, he's going to be easily slotted back into the rotation, and he's going to be able to contribute at a high level. So there's no doubt about that. So overall, I think this is just a very, very solid trade for the Warriors. I'm not going to go ahead and say it's like an A+ trade, like amazing trade. They should have gone OG Anunoby, even if it meant giving up Jonathan Kuminga, because then that keeps you afloat with the rest of the league that are making moves for guys like Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, and you're a team that just won a championship and you want to build on that. You want to go back to back, and with the target being on your back, you have to be the team that gets all these guys and just puts them all together. So it's a good trade for the Pistons, good trade for the Warriors. I know I said this will be the last trade, but we'll go ahead and talk about this one last franchise, the Los Angeles Clippers. They made 3 moves. Their first move was trading their 2 second-round picks for Bones Highland with the Denver Nuggets. They ended up trading for Mason Plumlee, and they gave up Reggie Jackson in the mix, and they also ended up getting Eric Gordon from the Houston Rockets. And they gave up 3 second-round picks. The Rockets the Rockets got Danny Green, John Wall, a first-round pick swap with the Clippers, and the Grizzlies were a part of this trade as well, and they ended up getting Luke Kennard.
I think this one was a very, very, very good deadline for the Clippers. I mean, there was reports of them potentially going for Fred VanVleet and going for Kyle Lowry, and they're attempting to get a point guard. I feel like this was the right move for them because they did have backup big issues. That was one of the biggest problems that they were facing. They didn't have a good backup big. Now you pick up Mason Plumlee, who's having a career year. I feel like that was a needle mover. You get Eric Gordon, who's a scorer as well. That on top of Bones Highland, I feel like the Clippers now they filled in the gaps that they were having. Their bench, I mean, Reggie Jackson, John Wall is just an awful combination, man. Reggie Jackson has really regressed, and I don't know. John Wall thought he was cooking when he was coming back from his pickup runs in the summer talking about I'm him, I'm this, I'm that. The guy's washed, and now it's so ironic that he got sent to the team that he was talking trash about. That's so funny to me. Now niggas ain't serious, bro. You back with them. Congrats, man. He's back with them, bro. But I think for the Clippers, this was a very good deadline. You get a backup big in Mason Plumlee, who's very, very solid. You get an amazing bench scoring in Eric Gordon, and then of course you get a guy in Bones Highland who in Denver. I mean, he does have defensive issues, but he offers that bench scoring punch. So it's good to see, man.
I think this is a very, very good trade deadline for the Clippers, man, because I knew from the jump that this whole John Wall signing wasn't going to work out, and I predicted that these guys are just going to cut their losses with him in late November, early December-ish. But I'm surprised that he made it all the way to the trade deadline. So I got to give John Wall some props there. He was able to stay under contract with the Clippers for 2 more months, but it just wasn't a good fit. Him coming off the bench. It just didn't make any sense. A guy that he can't space the floor, and he's pretty much a shell of himself. He's not the John Wall that we saw in Washington, and a little bit in Houston. Just not that same player anymore. And I feel like, Reggie Jackson, a guy that was very, very crucial to their playoff success a couple years ago when they played the Suns in the Western Conference Finals and against the Utah Jazz when Kawhi went down. He just couldn't really find a rhythm this year. He really, really struggled. So it was just pretty much time to go. And they ended up getting Plumlee back. And Plumlee's a quality big. You need that because you got Zubac and you don't necessarily have another guy behind him. So Plumlee's going to be a guy that slots in right there perfectly. He's very, very good. And then getting Eric Gordon, a guy who's like a strong 3-and-D guy, can put the ball on the floor a little bit. He can really provide a spark off the bench along with, guys like Norman Powell. And then for Bones Highland, I'm not too sure where he fits in this rotation simply because he's just the guy that doesn't necessarily play defense. But I do believe, he's one of those guys that, if he has it rolling on any given night, he's very, very good. So he's able to, shoot the ball. He's able to, put the ball on the floor, get to the basket, and really facilitate. I saw bits and pieces of him making his debut against the Warriors a couple of nights ago. He showed a little bit, but where he fits, because he's a defensive liability, it's just going to be really tough because you got guys like Norman Powell and Eric Gordon, guys that can be put ahead of you in the rotation, that can play defense. So it's just going to be interesting to see how Ty Lue deals with that. But I think these guys are, I want to say that they're the biggest, they're like the second biggest winners from the trade deadline. I'll go ahead and give the Phoenix Suns the one spot since you go ahead and, you got a guy like Kevin Durant. But these guys, man, the Clippers, a team that, last couple of years has been pretty bad for them, especially since they got out of the bubble and blown that 3-1 lead. These guys know that it's championship or bust for these guys, man, because when you go ahead and get a guy like Kawhi Leonard, when you go ahead and get a guy like Paul George, you're expecting a championship. And now that it's been, I think it's maybe 3 going on 4 years and no ring to show for it and only one Western Conference appearance to show for it, it's just very, very disappointing. So I think, now that they capitalize on this opportunity, and even with the Suns building their super team, the Clippers still have a very, very fair shot. So I'll go ahead and give them that.
Man, I'm a big Laker fan, man. I hate the Clippers. These last 4 years, they've been had Kawhi, PG. These guys, they haven't performed or they haven't, been held up to the expectations that this team is supposed to be held up to. They're up there regarding to the Lakers. Hey, we're, the next 2 superstars in LA. We're going to win the finals. We're going to do this and that. But it's always, hey, Disney's hurt, but never Kawhi. It's the LaFraud, but PG. Playoff P doesn't get. He hasn't get cooked the last 4 years, but to me, them getting away from Reggie Jackson and John Wall, I felt like that duo coming into this season. I already didn't like Reggie Jackson last year. I felt like he was a shot chucker in that team. He doesn't pass the ball. He's another glorified shooting guard, and he's not a true point guard. So for them to get away from that was good, and for them getting John Wall at the beginning of the season made no sense to me. A guy that hasn't played in like 3.5 years, hasn't really dribbled much, hasn't shot around much. He was playing pickup ball and he thought he was coming back to a team. Oh, I'm coming to LA, PG, Kawhi. We're gonna run this thing, but he hasn't. He didn't do anything. So to get away from that, picking up Plumlee, Bones Highland, Eric Gordon, I felt like getting Plumlee is another good backup addition to Zubac. He's a good role player, great rebounder, solid defender, and for them to pick up guards like Eric Gordon, a good veteran guard like that can fit into a system. He's a great shooter as well. Can space the floor. And defensively, he's not too bad as well. So they can go with the lineup of him, Terrence Mann, Kawhi, PG, and then Zubac. That could look nice. They got different lineups on the bench, but Bones Highland is another good addition for them. So I felt like they did. They won this trade. It's a championship or bust for them this year, to be honest. And they do fare up if Kawhi can stay healthy. I like their bench unit. They got Norman Powell. They got a couple guys that are solid on the bench, and they have a solid starting lineup. So if those guys can stay healthy and they can play, they're up there. They can play against the Nuggets. They can play against the Suns. So for me, it's championship or bust, and they made the moves to help them move towards the championship side more.
Yeah, a couple other teams that made moves at the deadline that we'll just cover over. The New York Knicks acquired Josh Hart from the Blazers. They ended up giving up Cam Reddish, and a first round pick, lottery protected. The Toronto Raptors ended up getting Jakob Poeltl. I think he's a very, very quality big. They ended up giving up Birch and a 2024 first round pick and 2 second-round picks.
That's another guy I wanted the Lakers to get. I'm not gonna lie. And Westbrook, we're engaging with him, talking about making trades with the the Spurs, but Jacob Potter was another center that I wanted to get. I feel like Pop, man, this guy, he breeds these guys and ships them off, and they start to cook on their new teams, and we see it in the past. So I feel like Toronto got a good center.
Yeah, I mean, Jan Caperto, his price was just too high. They ended up the Spurs, they wanted to get a first round pick for him and a couple other picks, but they ended up getting that the Toronto Raptors, and he was already a part of that franchise. He's just going back to a place he's familiar with, and I think he's going to be pretty solid for them because they don't necessarily have a center. So he'll be very, very helpful. And then the last, silent trade, the Sixers ended up getting Jalen McDaniels. The Hornets got a second round pick, and the Blazers ended up getting Matisse Thybulle. So that pretty much wraps up our NBA trade deadline. I think this is probably the craziest trade deadline in recent years. A lot of moves, a lot of moving pieces in different places. So the second half of the season is going to be really, really interesting.
Record a new hit, then we making us a film. Wouldn't sign a deal if I got a couple mil. Been in the lab, now they throwing out deals. Yes, now late, now that's overkill.